another construction video. This is another one of the March Madness sets for Tonic for 2022, and it's called A Book of Shared Memories Collection. It's one of their double A4 die sets. I'm not going to do an up-close video for this one because you probably just heard there's a grizzly little pumpkin behind me. So I'm just going to do a construction style video because some of you had asked how I construct my memory books with the foam tape spine. So I thought I might as well utilise the smallest one of these books because you have a box for it to go inside of and the small one fits inside the box. I thought I'd utilise that and some of the elements to show you how I create a memory book with a foam tape spine. So those are all of the dies that are in the two sets. You can see there's a massive amount, so it really is worth the money for this kind of set. And if you really love your memory books, you've got another different shape for your memory book with 3 different sizes and different layers in there as well. And then you also have this box that can just be a box for any occasion, or it actually makes a box that the smallest memory book can fit inside of as well. And you've got some really beautiful words in here too. You've got memories, dreams, lives, and then a book of shared, and you can do any of those. Plus you've also got small little sentiments like love, hopes, wishes, thoughts, dreams, and forever memories as well. And you've even got these like beautiful keys. It has a really cool locking mechanism that you can do on the front of this book as well, which the instructions inside the packaging will tell you how to do. And you also have this really cool like apothecary drawer pull kind of die as well, with the little label that can fit inside it, so you could change it out if you wanted to, and you've got like little hinges and bits and pieces as well. So a really jam-packed double die set for this Book of Shared Memories collection for March Madness. But I'm just going to do a construction video for you. I've already made my box, and you can see I really wanted to do something in the patriotic kind of colours, or patriotic colours, to go for the royal celebrations like the coronation and stuff. I thought it could be a cool memory book for that. So it says A Book of Shared Royal Memories. I've done the little pull tab here and put 2023 in it, and I've also used the top of the locking mechanism, like the key sort of portion, to add, because I thought it looked like a little bit like the crown. If you chop the top bit off, it kind of looks a little bit like a crown, and I've put a heart gem on there as well. Then you also have this long strip that's part of I think it's part of a closure mechanism for it, but I just decided to use multiples of them to create my own abstract Union Jack or Union flag in the background. I haven't done the white coming out the edges, but you could definitely do that if you wanted to. I just thought it would detract from the words that I've put on the front of it. So I decided to just leave it with the red on there as well. But the great thing about this box is, also, there's, throughout the whole March Madness, I think Tonic are giving away a small little die set free with purchase. And I'm pretty sure the one that's supposed to go with this is this little one that says Handcrafted Memories. So I put that on the back of my box as well. But the great thing about this box is it can go to be a small little octagon and you can use it for something else, or you can stretch it out so it fits the memory book inside of it. And so I thought this was a really good one for showing you how I create my foam tape spine memory book, because the pages of the memory book, I have already started some of it here, but the pages of the memory book come out to here, and you can see if you did the memory book maybe with the normal spine, it will probably come up to here, but with a foam tape spine we're adding the width of the foam tape, so you can actually just pull the box out a little bit more and make it accommodate a foam tape kind of spine on the edge of your book as well. So I thought this was a really good one to show you with it, because you can actually still fit it inside the box, and it also means you can be really adventurous with your binding for your memory book as well. You don't have to just stick to using one specific style of spine to make it fit inside the box. You've got that ability to move that box out a little bit wider so that you can have a wider spine on there as well. So for creating one of these memory books, I've just cut a bunch of the pages. I've literally just cut that small page die into a little bit smaller than A5 pieces, so you can get 2 of these out of one A4 sheet of cardstock. And then what I want to do now is continue these lines along. There's multiple ways you can do that. You can take a metal edged ruler and a craft knife and do that if you prefer. You can use your super trimmer. You can use maybe the new Rotary trimmer if you've got your hands on that, or you can use your guillotine. And the way I do it on my guillotine is I bring this bit over to the edge and then I push that piece of scrap down, I don't know if I can properly show this to you. If we're looking at this area here, I push that piece of scrap down and then push this back, and in person you can see that there's a tiny bit of the blade poking through that little notch that's there, and all you do is just cut down against that when you can see that that is straight with that piece, and just cut up to where that cut line finishes. And then to get the one on the other side, I rip off this piece so it's not in the way, flip it on the back side of it, and then do exactly the same thing on the other side, and you're just lining up that bit so it's straight, but you can actually see the blade through that little notch there as well, and then you just trim up to it, and then you get the elongated spine piece there. That's how I do that, so I'll just do this to this one as well. Because the reason why I do it this way, you could be thinking, well, hang on, why don't you just like butt this up against the top of the guillotine to get it to be straight? But you don't know if you've placed your die straight onto your piece of cardstock, so I just find this is the easiest way to do it. If you didn't want to do it this way, maybe you wanted to use your scissors to do it, you could definitely use a ruler and a pencil to extend that line out, and then just use your long bladed pair of scissors to cut it as well. But I thought I would show you the way that I do it. So that's the first step. Then, once you have cut all of your pages to be that size, you then need to add your score line. So at this point here, you've got these two, oops, I'm really zoomed in, I didn't realise I was that zoomed in. You've got these two notches here, there and there, and that is actually straight across. They're at the same distance across. So all we need to do now is add ourselves a score line between those two notches to actually be the sort of hinge portion of the book, and how the whole thing sort of bends up and down, how the pages move. So all I'm going to do is zoom you back out so you can actually see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to take my scoreboard. So the Tonic scoreboard is fabulous for this. And again, this side of the page is slightly curved, so we don't really want to butt it up against there because they might not all be the same. But because we have those two notches in here, if I zoom you back in again, you have those two notches, so you can actually just eyeball it, line a notch up with the same line on there, and then you can literally just score down the middle of them, and then you get that score line in the perfect position. And it doesn't matter which line on your scoring board you do it, just as long as those two notches are both lined up with the same line, you can just score between them. So you want to do that with all of your pages. I've got some done ready so that we don't have to, you know, sit here whilst I do like 12 pages or 14 pages. But there we go, we've got all of those done. So we've now got those fold lines. Then the next step is to add our 3D foam. I've actually got one that's narrow, and I thought that would maybe work better for this because we do have the box that it fits inside of. I thought if we go for a narrower spine, it might be better. So this is actually like a 1/2 inch one, whereas I think the wider one that I normally use is like 3/4, yeah, 3/4 of an inch. So 1/2 inch wide foam tape, and it can be whatever depth you want as well. I'm actually using a 1mm for these, but we could, if you actually put together all of your pieces, I mean this is probably half of my book here, so I've only got a 1mm depth between all of them, and you see the depth of the book. We could definitely get away with putting 2mm tape between the pages, and then you'd have more space between your pages as well. So it is entirely up to you, and if you don't have 2mm foam tape, all we can do is remove that backing piece off of there, take another piece of the 1mm foam tape, and then just double it up on the top of it. If you wanted some at different varying heights throughout the book as well, you can do that too. So we will do that to a couple of them, and then I need to add the last few bits onto the others. And the way I'm lining it up is I'm just going sort of up to that score line. We want the score line to still be able to fold. You can see that I've folded it now, and you want it to still be able to fold, but you want to put the tape like right up to that score line, so that that's how the book is going to sort of stick together and the page is going to fold upwards nicely. So we've got those ones. I've got 4 more here to do. So I'm just going to take that 1mm foam tape, line it up where I just showed you. I'll do another double one here. So we've got a few with different depths in the book as well. So we'll do that. We'll just get a little bit more of the foam tape as well. And we'll go along that one. And then we've got this one. And then we've got this one. I think that one's already got some on. So I'm going to do another double one on this one, I think. So we'll go one piece on there just to make it 1mm, and then another piece to make it 2mm. Also, if you don't have a narrower foam tape, you can definitely just cut your wider one narrower as well. Just make sure they're all the same width, but you can definitely do that too. I just took the foam tape off one of them because I remembered you need one that doesn't have the foam tape on, that is the front of your book as well. But now we've got to this stage where all of them have got their bits of foam tape on, we can take our long bladed pair of scissors, and you just want to cut up to that foam tape and just snip it off. So it doesn't matter if this is perfect or not, because we're going to add a little binding over the back of it to neaten it up, but we're literally just going to snip them off, and we're going to get our sort of beginning of our spine sort of coming together with all of these pages with all of the bits and pieces on. So we've now got a bunch of these with the foam tape on, plus one without that's going to be the front cover. Then we can sort of mix up the height. So I'm going to just mix in some of those double heighted ones so that they're mixed throughout the book and they're not all in the same place. So I'll put another one in there, two more narrow ones, and then a bigger one at the back, so we can change the width of this. And then actually, because we're putting this inside a box, we can play around with this first. We can look at that thickness and go, yeah, that is definitely going to fit inside that box still, so we know that the book is going to fit inside there. So you could definitely go more pages, or just go thicker foam tape between the pages as well to create a different spine for your book and a thicker version that's going to fit inside here. I think the reason why they made this so wide is because if you're using that spine die, it gives you a really big depth, like a 5mm depth between each page, so you would want that depth of this box then. But for a foam tape spine, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can get away with a bunch more pages in your book for whatever kind of reason you're making your book for. Maybe you are doing a royal kind of memories book. You know, you can do a bunch more pages. You could definitely put like clippings from the newspaper and stuff in it. If you are doing more of like you know, something that's televised or that's going to be in the news, you could definitely keep little articles, maybe print them off of the internet and stuff, and add them into here too. So yeah, so the next step for this is to take that back page, and we're going to take the foam tape backing off of that. Then we're going to get the next one. So I'll just put this pile up the other way. We're going to take the next one, and we want to make sure all of these fold lines are in the same position. So we can make sure that is folded nicely. And then as we're sticking them together, you want to line up those notches basically, because that's where the fold line is. So because we hand cut the back edge there, we're not necessarily lining up the back edges, we're lining up the fold lines, which is where we've done those, well, where the notches are, that's where we put our fold lines, so that's the perfect position to line them up. So then we've got the first page on there, and then we can, all we need to do is just keep going and lining up the notches on the top and the bottom to make sure it's straight, and add the next one. Just keep making sure it's straight as you're going, otherwise you're going to get a weird kind of looking book as you get towards the end of it. But just keep taking off. See, you can see how easy it is, and this is why I love doing a foam tape spine on a memory book. This is how I've done it for like the last, I think the first one I made was in like 2010, so quite a long time ago, and this has always worked. All of those books are still together as well, and I was actually using like Poundland foam tape back then. And they're still all together now, so you can do that and then take the next one off, and you can put all sorts of different things in here as well if you wanted. Maybe you are making this book after the event has happened and you've got like tickets with ticket stubs and things. You could even stick the very end of the ticket that maybe doesn't have a lot of the information on into your spine, and it could be like a little insert or tip-in kind of thing inside your book as well. Or you could put vellum pages in here, you could put acetate pages in here, you could create a really cool like shaker page inside it as well. There's so many different things that you can do, and I feel like when I make a book with the foam tape spine, I feel like I'm more adventurous with what I do to the pages normally. I mean, this one I'm being very, very simple just because I want to be able to show you how I'm putting it together, but you definitely can go really sort of over the top, die cut some bits into these so you've got windows through them, or so that you've got extra flaps that come out and maybe you put another piece of card behind it, or you make pockets and things. I am going to line the back of all of these pages with some red cardstock, which is going to give us that kind of like pocket aspect to it as well. But yeah, you can do so much different stuff with this. Just just as long as every time you put the page on, you're lining up those 2 notches that are there, you're going to get a nice spine. And it doesn't matter if the back edge isn't that even, because we will cover that up as well. And then we'll just go the last one here, and then we just have the front cover to go, which is the one that we were supposed to not stick foam tape to, but I forgot and had to rip it off. So there should definitely be one without the foam tape on, but we can just add that onto the top. And actually, because I left it without the foam tape on, we could actually use this as the first initial wrap around the spine to make it look a bit neater as well. We can come back in and add more stuff to it later to make it look neater, but we could actually use that piece that's left on there as the wrap around the spine. So you can do this with a guillotine if you want to. You could have measured this beforehand and done this with a guillotine. I'm just going to use my scissors to cut that because I'm going to put something else on there to make it look neater afterwards. But that can be the first sort of wrap that hides this back edge here, but you'll notice we also have this portion to hide too. So I was thinking, where did I put them? Over here. I don't know if this is really wide enough. It's not really wide enough. I was thinking we could wrap one of these all the way around. Maybe we can just wrap 2 of them all the way around. So maybe we want to have stuck that first, because then this will look quite pretty on there. Okay, so we're gonna just put a piece of red liner tape on that final side. It doesn't matter particularly if this wrap piece is stuck onto these elements, we just want it to be nicely stuck on the back here. So if we take a piece of red liner tape, stick that onto here, and then just pull this round and stick that directly onto the back of the book. We've now neatened that up really nicely. Now at this point we can decide if we're going to do this and stick this going around here, which I think is going to look really nice if we put a couple of them. Are we going to want something else covering the main bit of this first, or actually that is going to cover it when it comes back around the other side? So we could just get away with having that white wrap around there, although mine has got bits missing because I ripped it. So I think I am going to go with a little bit of cardstock on mine. So let's go with some navy blue because I've got that here. And to get the height of this piece, all I'm going to do is take my trimmer and you just keep the lever down, butt it up against there, and you can see it is 2 1/4 inches tall. So I'm going to go just slightly under 2 1/4 inches when I cut a piece of cardstock. So just a hair underneath that, so that then when we add this on here, it will have just a tiny little white edge around it, but that will make that look a lot neater then as well, and it just finishes it off really nicely. And we can make it start at that first little debossed line on the front of it, and then we can wrap it round to the back as well, and we can place that down as it is, pull that round, and then what we can do, if you don't want to freehand it with your scissors, you can just take your small pair of scissors, put a snip on there, and then bring your guillotine back in and trim that off, and then you've got your little piece to go around your spine. Obviously this is going to be different for every single book that you make, and the height would be the same at just under 2 1/4 inches, but your whatever the width is going all the way around there is going to be different dependent on how many pages you put in and what the thickness of your foam tape is. But what we can do is we can take our red liner tape again, put one piece on this end and one piece on this end, and then we're going to place that right up against that debossed line that is there, and we're going to be pulling that all the way around and sticking it to the other side. And if you had remembered not to put some foam tape on the last page, you could have just left that as a white spine, but I quite like it with the navy blue actually. And then to cover this ugly bit up here, sometimes I've wrapped ribbon around there, or I've put another piece of card across this way before I've put this little wrap around there. But because we're using a decorative piece, one of those long pieces that I used to make the Union Jack on the front of the box, we can actually just put this on afterwards, because I think it's going to add a nice sort of element to it. So we can put one like this. Let's go with wet glue for this one. So we'll just take some wet glue, put that all on there, stick that first piece down, and I'm lining it up with those notches, and then we can pull this round to the back. Obviously you can do this however you want to, I'm just trying to sort of show you how I would finish this off. And pull this round again, and then finally make sure it's lining up as it comes round to the front, because it's overlapping in exactly the same place. And then finish that off with a little bit more glue and pull this round. And then we want to do the same thing again because we've only covered half of that, so we need another one of those. And we could do this at a different degree if we wanted to this time. So before I started up there, so this time we could maybe start in the opposite direction. If we start like this perhaps, stick this down first. And place that into position. And then fold it over the top, down the back, and adding a bit more adhesive. I hope I'm on camera for all of this, I wasn't looking up then. And then fold it back round the bottom to cover up that final piece, and then we're bringing that up the front of the book. And it's coming up in the opposite direction to the first one, just to make it look a little bit different. And that gives us the sort of little wrap piece that hides the foam tape portions of the spine there. And it gives us a nice little finished element, and we could definitely decorate this as well if we wanted to, because you've got like these keys in the die set. We could put a key on there maybe, or we've also got these little like hinge pieces too. You could put like a little hinge piece on there maybe, or actually put the hinges around the edge of the book, might look quite nice. Did I cut any dark blue of those hinges? No, maybe let's go the dark red then. That would fit round the spine perfectly. We could put one of those on there just to add as an accent as well. So we'll put that on there, put some glue on the back of it, and place that on the top, wrap it around the back of the spine and stick it on to the back of the book as well. So you've got that little decorative element too. So we've basically got our book there ready for us to embellish, but what I want to do, where's the needle gone? What I want to do is add some red Craft Perfect on the opposite side of all of these pages to make them stronger. So they're currently only one about 250 GSM piece of white cardstock, but to make them a stronger thickness we can actually come in with some Craft Perfect on the back of them and stick this on. Now I've actually cut these at the notch, but I think I'm going to have to cut them a little bit shorter because we put our score line at the notch. I think it's going to interfere with how this is folding if we leave those being that long. So I think possibly coming in and cutting like a couple of millimeters away from that last debossing line should work nicely. And then we can actually come in and stick all of these in to give the back of each of our pages a red finish. And when you're doing something like this, you don't have to stick them on all of the edges. So you can, if you want to, you know, stick them all the way around. But if you don't want to, you can definitely take your adhesive and only put it round certain edges. So that's where the spine's going to be. But this edge here, I'm actually going to leave open. So I'm only sticking it like this so that we could poke something in the pocket if we wanted to. Which I always think is a great idea of adding extra things into your pages as well. And it's great for like receipts or tickets or extra little photographs that you want to be hidden. But you can just stick that in a different manner than you might normally have. And then if we just get a piece of this blue cardstock, still a bit wide, cut it down a bit narrower. Obviously you can do this properly or use one of the dies as well, but just to show you, you've then got a little slit opening that can then be a little pocket element inside there, and the rest of it is stuck down nicely, but you've got that little pocket element to put in there. So I'm going to go through and stick on the back of all of these pages and do a little bit of decorating, and then I'll come back and show you what I've done as well. I might just leave the footage in and speed it up for you. Okay, so I'm not sure how much sped up footage I just included, but hopefully you enjoyed that. And here is the finished box, and then here is my finished book. Obviously all of the pages aren't finished, they're just sort of got a few mats and layers and bits and pieces on them, but you can see how lovely it looks with a foam tape spine, and it makes it a really nice weight as well. It kind of balances the weight of the book with the spine. I've created the whole book out of a 250 GSM white card and then lots of Craft Perfect textured cardstock, just to sort of mount up the pages, and all of the opposite pages have the red on them as well to sort of make them a little bit more sturdy. Some of the pages I actually stuck two of the white pages together with a little bit of the 1mm foam tape as well, so you've got like a slightly wider pocket there that you can put a little label sort of shape into, which is one of the layers for the actual book too. So I hope you like how it's turned out, and let's have a look at how this fits into the box. So the idea is this piece goes inside that piece, so we're going to put that one in there, and then we should just be able to, as long as it's not going the wrong way on the back, we should just be able to tuck that inside, and then we've got our book inside the box, and the box goes together nicely even with that foam tape spine, and you can see it's not shaking around in there, so that is the actual size of the book in there then. So I would recommend a slightly narrower, sort of like a 1/2 inch width of the foam tape for the spine for this book to go inside a box, but I mean there would be enough space, just the box maybe wouldn't be quite so sturdy. It would probably come out maybe like this far, but yeah, definitely give the foam tape spine a try. Really hope you enjoyed this construction video. Hope you've been enjoying the March Madness sets as well. There would have been one up yesterday and one up tomorrow, I think, if they're going up in the order that I think they are. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you want to get hold of this double sort of memory book collection kind of die set, there will be affiliate links in the description box below the video and also on my blog post as well. And I do really appreciate you taking the time to use them too. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!